Welcome to the summary of the book Multipliers by Wiseman. Before we dive in, please subscribe to our channel so we stay motivated to bring you more valuable book summaries. If there's a book you'd like us to cover, let us know in the comments, and don't forget to tell us where you're watching from. Chapter 1. The heading of this chapter is the multiplier effect. In the first chapter, Wiseman introduces the core idea of the book. Some leaders create workplaces where people grow, think harder, and give their best. These are the multipliers. Other leaders, without meaning to, limit the contributions of their teams. These are the diminishers. Multipliers believe that their role as a leader is not to have all the answers themselves, but to unlock the ideas, energy, and intelligence of those around them. They create environments where people are encouraged to think for themselves, solve problems, and take ownership. Multipliers amplify the smarts of the people they lead, and because of this, their teams achieve more than anyone thought possible. The leader's brilliance multiplies through others. Wiseman describes how these leaders don't overshadow their team, instead, they shine a light on them. They are quick to ask questions and slow to give answers, knowing that the best ideas often come from the collective brainpower of the team, not just the leader's own mind. On the other hand, diminishers often believe they must be the smartest person in the room. They may give all the answers, make all the decisions, and tightly control the work. While they might think they're helping, what they really do is create dependency. Their teams stop thinking for themselves, waiting for direction, or become disengaged because their talents aren't being used. Wiseman points out that many diminishers aren't doing this out of malice. In fact, they often have the best intentions. They want to help, they want to solve problems, they want to keep things moving, but in doing so, they unintentionally shut down the ideas and energy of others. The chapter highlights that being a multiplier or a diminisher is a choice. Leaders can reflect on their behavior and ask themselves, am I using my position to bring out the best in others, or am I keeping the spotlight on myself? Wiseman sets the stage for the rest of the book by inviting leaders to consider how they can shift their mindset and actions to multiply the intelligence and capability of everyone they lead. Chapter 2. The heading of this chapter is the talent magnet. In this chapter, Wiseman describes one of the most powerful qualities of a multiplier, being a talent magnet. A talent magnet is a leader who not only attracts great people but also creates an environment where talent thrives and grows. These leaders see potential where others might overlook it. They look beyond resumes, titles, or past achievements, and instead focus on what people are capable of becoming. Talent magnets believe that brilliance is everywhere, it just needs the right conditions to emerge. They encourage people to take on meaningful challenges, stretch beyond their comfort zones, and develop in ways they didn't know were possible. What's special about these leaders is that they don't hoard talent for themselves or keep their best people trapped in small roles. Instead, they clear the path for growth, helping people move into opportunities where they can have the greatest impact. Wiseman explains that when leaders act as talent magnets, they create a positive cycle. The more people feel valued and challenged, the more they want to stay and contribute, and the more word spreads that this is a place where good people can do great work. Over time, this builds a reputation that attracts even more top talent. In contrast, diminishers may unintentionally block this cycle. They might overlook emerging talent because they are too focused on their own ideas or success. They might assign small, safe tasks instead of bold challenges. They might unintentionally create an environment where people feel unseen or underused, which eventually drives talent away. Wiseman invites leaders to reflect on how they can become talent magnets by looking for untapped potential, giving people space to grow, and making their team the kind of place where the best people want to be. Chapter 3. The heading of this chapter is the liberator. In this chapter, Wiseman explores how great leaders act as liberators, creating environments where people feel safe, trusted, and free to contribute their best thinking. A liberator is not a leader who lowers standards or avoids challenges. Instead, they set high expectations while at the same time removing the fear and tension that can block people's best ideas. These leaders know that people can only do their best work when they aren't worried about being criticized, embarrassed, or punished for trying something new. Liberators balance accountability with respect. They make it clear that mistakes are part of the learning process and that what matters is growth, effort, and contribution. In a liberator's world, people feel encouraged to take risks, offer creative ideas, and push the boundaries of what's possible because they know they will be supported, not shut down. Wiseman points out that leaders who act as liberators send powerful signals through their words and actions. They listen deeply, invite input, and show appreciation for diverse perspectives. They create meeting spaces where everyone has a voice and where debate is welcomed rather than feared. In contrast, diminishers, even with good intentions, often create tension. People may feel judged, dismissed, or afraid to speak up because they sense the leader already has the answers or won't value their input. This shuts down creativity and initiative. Wiseman encourages leaders to think about how they can liberate the intelligence of their teams by building trust, encouraging bold thinking, and pairing high expectations with a deep respect for the people who work with them. Chapter 4. The heading of this chapter is the challenger. In this chapter, Liz Wiseman explains that multipliers act as challengers, leaders who push people to think bigger, stretch further, and tackle tough problems that seem beyond reach. Challengers don't believe in making work easy or comfortable. Instead, they believe in making work meaningful and motivating. They see potential in their teams that may not yet be visible and set ambitious goals that encourage people to rise to the occasion. Rather than spoon-feeding solutions or solving every problem themselves, challengers present their teams with demanding tasks and complex issues, trusting that their people have the ability to figure things out. This trust and belief in others create an energy that inspires teams to give their best, think deeply, and develop new skills in the process. Wiseman describes how challengers create a culture where people are not afraid of difficult assignments. In fact, they welcome the chance to prove what they can do. The leader's confidence in their ability gives them the courage to try, even when the challenge feels intimidating. Instead of rescuing their teams from struggle, challengers stand alongside them, offering guidance but not robbing them of the opportunity to solve problems and learn. In contrast, diminishers often keep the hardest challenges for themselves or step in too quickly because they believe only they can handle the big problems. This limits the growth of their team and keeps people in small, safe roles. The key message of this chapter is that multipliers unlock the full potential of their teams by daring them to do hard things, and by believing that they can. Chapter 5. The heading of this chapter is the debate maker. In this chapter, Liz Wiseman focuses on how multipliers create environments where ideas are tested through healthy, vigorous debate. Debate makers don't seek agreement for its own sake. They want to surface the best ideas, challenge assumptions, and make sure decisions are well thought out. These leaders know that the best solutions often come from open, thoughtful discussion where multiple viewpoints are heard and examined. Debate makers encourage their teams to think critically, question ideas, including their own, and engage with curiosity rather than defensiveness. They frame discussions around meaningful questions, set clear rules for respectful debate, and ensure that everyone has a voice. As a result, people feel not only heard but invested in the outcomes of decisions because they were part of shaping them. Wiseman explains that debate makers don't dominate conversations or push their own opinions as the only right answer. Instead, they create the space and structure for others to think out loud, offer ideas, and wrestle with complex issues. This strengthens both the solutions that emerge and the team's collective confidence in its ability to handle tough decisions. In contrast, diminishers often stifle debate either by pushing their own ideas too strongly, discouraging disagreement, or making it clear, directly or indirectly, that they expect compliance rather than discussion. When this happens, teams miss out on the wisdom that comes from multiple perspectives, and decisions are weaker as a result. Wiseman encourages leaders to reflect on how they can foster open debate that not only leads to smarter decisions but also builds a stronger, more engaged team. Chapter 6. The heading of this chapter is the investor. In this chapter, Liz Wiseman describes how multipliers act as investors in their people. These leaders don't just delegate tasks, they give real ownership. They hand over important responsibilities, trusting their team members to make decisions, solve problems, and deliver results. By doing this, they signal to their people, "I believe in you. I trust you to do meaningful work and do it well." This trust builds confidence, pride, and accountability. People rise to the occasion when they feel that they have a true stake in the work. They don't simply follow orders, they take charge, innovate, and find ways to succeed because they feel responsible for the outcomes. Wiseman explains that investors don't disappear after handing off responsibility. They provide guidance, resources, and support to help their teams succeed, but they resist the temptation to step in and take over. They stay close enough to help if needed, but far enough to let others truly lead. This balance allows people to develop their capabilities, take risks, and grow into stronger, more independent contributors. In contrast, diminishers often undermine ownership, even without meaning to. They may delegate but then hover, second-guess, or take back control when things don't go perfectly. This leaves their teams disempowered and hesitant to take initiative in the future. The core message of this chapter is that multipliers grow the strength of their organizations by investing in people, not just with words, but through real, meaningful ownership and trust. Chapter 7. The heading of this chapter is The Accidental Diminisher. In this chapter, Liz Wiseman sheds light on a reality that many leaders find eye-opening. Not all diminishers are intentional. In fact, many of the leaders who limit their team's potential are what she calls accidental diminishers. These are well-meaning people who want to be helpful, effective, and supportive, but whose actions unintentionally shut down the intelligence, initiative, and contribution of others. Wiseman describes how leaders who are eager to share their ideas, quick to jump in and help, or determined to maintain high standards can accidentally create dependency in their teams. For example, the leader who is always full of ideas may overwhelm their team, leaving little room for others to contribute. The leader who jumps in to rescue a struggling employee might prevent that person from learning how to solve the problem on their own. The leader who insists on excellence in every small detail might create an environment where people are afraid to take risks or try new things. What makes accidental diminishers so challenging is that their intentions are good. They want their teams to succeed. But their behavior sends signals that say, "I have the answers," or "I don't fully trust you to figure it out." Over time, this causes people to disengage, offer fewer ideas, and wait for direction. Wiseman emphasizes that recognizing accidental diminishing behaviors is the first step toward change. Once leaders see where they might be limiting their teams without realizing it, they can begin to shift their habits, creating more space for others to think, act, and grow. The chapter encourages leaders to reflect honestly on their own actions, to ask for feedback, and to look for small changes that can have a big impact on their ability to multiply the intelligence around them. Chapter 8. The heading of this chapter is Becoming a Multiplier. In this chapter, Liz Wiseman offers hope and practical guidance by showing that becoming a multiplier isn't about having some rare gift, it's about making conscious, small shifts in how we lead. She explains that leaders can develop multiplier habits over time by being mindful of their behaviors, adjusting their approach, and focusing on practices that unlock the full potential of their teams. Wiseman highlights that the journey toward becoming a multiplier starts with self-awareness. Leaders must take an honest look at how their actions affect those around them, where they might be diminishing unintentionally, and where they might already be multiplying. From there, they can begin to make deliberate choices that create more space for others to think, contribute, and take ownership. One of the key points in this chapter is that small changes can create big results. Leaders don't need to overhaul their entire style overnight. Instead, they can start by asking more questions rather than giving answers, inviting others into decisions, resisting the urge to jump in and rescue, or giving their teams more challenging assignments. With each small step, the multiplier effect begins to build. People feel more trusted, more engaged, and more capable, which in turn strengthens the entire organization. Wiseman encourages leaders to see the process of becoming a multiplier as an ongoing journey. It's about staying curious, asking for feedback, and continually refining the way we lead so that we bring out the best in everyone we work with. Chapter 9. The heading of this chapter is The Multiplier Mindset. In the final chapter, Liz Wiseman ties together the ideas of the book by focusing on what she calls the multiplier mindset, the foundation of everything multipliers do. This mindset is built on a deep, genuine belief that people are smart and capable of figuring things out. Multipliers don't see themselves as the sole source of wisdom or solutions. Instead, they see their teams as full of untapped potential waiting to be unleashed. This belief shapes every interaction. It leads multipliers to ask questions rather than give orders, to trust rather than control, and to create space for others to contribute and lead. The multiplier mindset means seeing leadership as an opportunity not to be the star of the show, but to create an environment where everyone can shine. Wiseman explains that the multiplier mindset isn't something you adopt once and then forget. It's a way of thinking and acting that requires constant attention and care. Leaders must be intentional about how they show up, how they speak, and how they listen. They need to reflect regularly on whether their behavior is helping others grow or unintentionally holding them back. The chapter encourages leaders to approach their role with curiosity, humility, and a desire to serve. By adopting and practicing this mindset every day, leaders can create teams and organizations where people do their best work, feel deeply valued, and achieve extraordinary results together.